Hello friends, and welcome to House Call, my personal introduction. Today I'm going to be talking about my history, stuff about myself as a person and player, clear up some misconceptions, and talk about kind of stuff that makes me a little different as a person and player, but is by no means unique to me. So for those of you who don't know me, I am EGPPMD. Sponsored by Evil Geniuses, and I've been playing SSBM for about 9 years. I've been a top level player for about probably 5, maybe 5.5 if you want to be generous. Something about me in the current Smash climate, I've been going to few events recently, so especially ever since esports started picking up with Melee getting into EVO 2013 and EVO continuing to have Melee SSBM events at it, and all this money coming in, all these other organizations like South by Southwest and MLG and all those. And I haven't been to very many things, and it's led to me being kind of an unknown person, unknown character, even within this scene where so much is known about the players and there's so much exposure. So this is kind of an attempt for me to begin kind of clearing up a lot of things and get more exposure for myself to the people. So I thought I'd organize a little bit of backstory on myself. So we'll start from the Smash beginning. I've grown up in Shelby, a little town in North Carolina called Shelby, biggest of the small towns in the area, and I found out about Melee in the summer of 2007 in this little town. I was the best on my block. I thought it was pretty hot stuff, but there was something in the back of my mind. I was thinking, who out there can beat my Mario? And I wasn't sure. I was like, I feel like I know some stuff, but maybe some other people know stuff too. I was like, at least maybe a good match. So I was curious, and YouTube was blowing up a lot at the time. So I thought I'd go and search YouTube. Probably one of my first YouTube searches. I didn't really, use YouTube much back then, and that certainly changed. But I went and searched up professional Super Smash Bros. Melee players, and I was blown away. Those guys were so good. They could, in fact, beat my Mario, all of them. But I was hooked, and I thought, the speed of the game combined with how almost like open, how big the levels were and how open everything was and how you could use platforms and all this stuff. I thought it was, perfect game to me, and I still hold the opinion even after learning so much about it. So I gotta say it's been a pretty good 9-year relationship. So I started playing with my little brother, whose gamertag is Twitch. He's a good player. He is, depending on who you ask, he's a top 100. He's qualified to be a top 100 player for some people. Some say he's not. Some say he's top 60. Some say he's even a little bit better than that. It really depends on who you ask. But he's pretty good, and he's taken some good names. But he's traveled even less than I have, and that's understandable. He's doing college stuff right now. Doesn't take it as seriously as me, but still very seriously. But yeah, hopefully he travels more if he ends up wanting to. He's a very good player, very smart player. And anyway, he helped me out a whole lot in the beginning. There weren't very many players around, so I was forced to, not forced, but we all each other had, and we played together for a long time. We were forced kind of to play together so much because we didn't have so many other people to go and play. They were an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, especially once I started getting better, the better people were farther away within the state that I had to go see. And I just had to go super far to get tournament experience or good practice. And it ended up being a situation where once I was starting to take first at local events, I'd be driving 3 hours and I'd take first, and because the events were so small back then and there wasn't esports money, I'd be making my gas money back, and that would be about it. And it wasn't really about money for me, and still isn't. But oh man, that was a tough time. But it was a lot of fun. I did it because I loved it, and I still do it because I love it. So hopefully the videos and everything like that will kind of be a reflection of that sort of thing. Something else I used to get better, I used I used online discussion on our forum called Smashboards. I also analyzed a lot of YouTube videos of the players that were playing my characters, that were doing well in tournaments or winning tournaments, and I was like, what are they doing that's working so well? What problems are they solving? What can I take from that? What do I like? What do I not like? And I would add it to my own game. I would watch my own stuff over and over and over. What do I like? What am I getting beat on repeatedly? What can I do about this? And I just improve my knowledge a little bit at a time. But so focused on it, so focused on the discussion, getting exposure to these high level ideas that people were putting out back then, that eventually it just really worked out for me. And in 2011, all this work culminated in a series of really big victories, where I'd beaten pretty much everyone, and I had a really good Smash resume, because that's what I thought was important at the time. A good Smash resume, and people said I was the best player, which was something I never thought I never dreamed of achieving. I thought I was always going to be bad. I picked a goofy name initially when I started playing Dr. PP, which I changed to PPMD now. And I picked that goofy name because I was like, I'm not going to be any good. I hope people kind of remember me because of my funny name. That's about the only way they're going to remember me. But it turned out this guy with this ridiculous name was considered the best player at one point, which was a little bit embarrassing. But we weren't esports then, so it's not like anyone knew. But it was it was pretty funny, and a little less funny right after I started doing well, or was considered the best. I immediately had a huge drop in my performances. They didn't rise up to that level of winning tournaments and beating all the players again for a very long time. All the stress from people saying, you're the best, are you going to keep doing this, are you going to be able to win this thing or this thing, and we only had like once every 6 months to prove ourselves. So when that event was coming up and everyone was talking about it, and I'm thinking, oh my god, what's going to happen, I don't know, and the anxiety just kind of like manifested itself physically in my body. And I just got super nervous and sick, and that ended up just being a really big problem for me. And it is not working the same way now, but I am having some other illness issues now. But to kind of go back to the story, it was a huge problem for me then, and I hate how often I had to use that excuse before tournaments. I just didn't know a way to fix the anxiety issue. And it's not typical. It's not just typical to me. A lot of people, after they start getting successful, they'll be cockier, or they'll have their own anxiety issues, or whatever. So this is something that pretty much anyone has to evaluate when they start becoming successful, is how to change their goals and things like that. And it took me a very long time to learn how to reevaluate my goals, and I can talk about that in a separate video later. And I want to kind of switch gears from the history for a moment. I'll come back to the present in a second, but I want to talk about me as a person right now. As a person, I am pretty thoughtful. Lots of words. If you look at me on the forum, Smashboards, lots of words. You listen to me on here, lots of words. You see me get a donation message on my stream, lots of words in response. You see me ideally on the Smash Reddit. I try to give as many words as I think is necessary. I'm trying to think of problems from multiple perspectives with nuances and things like that. And I try to be very thoughtful when I respond to people, and not just assume that maybe whatever I believe is the right thing. And that's something that's kind of useful for me, I think, certainly outside of Smash. Because to be successful in Smash or in anything else, there's a certain set of skills you need, and I talked about this on the intro to House Call video a little bit, so I won't spend more time talking about it. But I really hope that that kind of thoughtfulness comes across, and I don't get too hard line in a lot of stuff I try to put out later. And if I do, please call me on it. And I also can be pretty habitual in some weird ways. So while it can be good, if I get stuck on, I've gotta run every day, or whatever, and this is certainly not new. And just like the thoughtfulness isn't something that's unique to only me. I get habitual kind of about some weird stuff. Like I just really like bagels a lot. I found out about this revolutionary bagel technology couple of years ago or whatever, and I've just been all about them ever since. And I finally got to, and now since people heard about me talking about, this guy that will spend an hour talking to you about Falco's place in the meta. Now he's spending 10 minutes talking about why he loves bagels, and he's just got so many words about it, and it's kind of ridiculous. But that's that's the type of thing that I'm talking about, where I can get, I guess, overly fixated on some things, and for good or bad. And I also to give one more piece of information about myself, I also I had a struggle for a very long time with being almost desperately too nice to people, where I felt like they weren't going to like me unless I said, hey, I think you're awesome. I suck. I was apologizing all the time, saying I'm sorry if like anything went wrong or whatever, and it took me a long time to kind of just evaluate a lot of things within myself, and that's kind of where my Smash game and my real life game, because they're separate but not really. Those things started changing. I started really confronting a lot of psychological things in myself, and really trying to change how I shaped my self-worth and things like that. And it really changed how I approached interaction with people. And it's not it's not that I'm not nice now. I think a lot of people, I think many people would say, I'm still generally pleasant to talk to, and still pretty appreciative of people. I'd like to think I kept that, but it's not at the expense of my own well-being and my own opinion of myself. And I think, and I'm more tolerant of disagreement now, because I understand that it's okay for people to believe different things than me, and I should be able to be confident believing in my own things. And yeah, it's all right. So that's a little bit about my personality, and to kind of transfer some of the stuff I just said to my gameplay. I was really habitual as a player in some bad ways, I think, before I started really working on understanding myself on a deeper level. I was very restrictive in my play. I was very afraid to go out and try and edgeguard people or get the finishing kill, because I was very worried that they could reverse the situation on me, and I was scared and I didn't really know what to do. And ever since I've really and I just didn't and I just didn't start adjusting my play that well. I was like, do these few things over and over, and do it a little bit differently if it's not working. And it was effective, but it was a little stagnant for me. So what's kind of changed over time, and what people have seen a lot, they've been exposed to more of the new way I'm doing things in the esports age, is I'm trying to go with the flow more. I'm trying to bring out more aggression and play offense and defense and all kinds of things. And that makes me a little bit, I don't always succeed, of course, especially when I'm losing. I tighten up more as a player, but it makes me a little difficult to characterize, because the way most people talk about player styles is they'll say it's you're offensive or you're defensive, and I think I'll do like a full video talking about this sort of thing later. But you can be offensive and you're in someone's face and you're trying to make them make a decision right now. I have to make a decision now because you're coming in. It's gonna get messy. Let's go. Or you can be offensive and you can be getting close to someone and you can make them make the first move and then you hit them, so it's kind of more defensive, or it's kind of like offensive from a farther away space. And so what do you call that? Is that still more offensive than defensive, or are you still staying safe and trying to get them, but you're just using an offensive cover? There are interesting questions there that are hard to solve if you're just saying offensive or defensive. And of course, you need both. But if you're on the side of defense, most people think of defensive as you're staying far away, you're slowing the pace of the match, you're making it hard for someone to get in, or you're staying on the edge. But of course, you can be defensive in other ways too. And so, I'm more interested in describing, offensive and defensive are kind of useful, but I'm also very interested in describing how people put pressure on people, or what the feeling is like when you watch it or experience it. And when people watch my play a lot, they really see that that I'm a very deliberate player. I choose my moves very carefully. I stay at a space where I'm threatening my opponent a little bit closer than they're used to, but not so close to where they can immediately hit me, and it's a little bit jarring. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think I'll try to break that down more later. But the idea is that I'm pressuring aggressively from a kind of safe space. So it's a kind of a weird thing to think about, and it's not something the offensive defensive dichotomy captures very well. So with that overview taken care of, let's talk about my current situation. Still having a little bit of the physical health issues. I was also having, I think I forgot to mention this before, but I was having mental health issues, was having depression, serious depression problems, and I've worked through a lot of that, and I definitely want to do a video about that later to tell people kind of what I did to work through it, how to keep it from kind of getting me as bad again, and other things like that, and also just being really hopeful, because so many people struggle with that. And also, I want to talk about what's currently going on with me. The actual health problems going on with me right now. I have some low testosterone. Not entirely sure how it happened, but it is a huge problem, keeping me from focusing and thinking clearly, and even from my eyes, from seeing things in real time. And it's kind of weird. So I don't, very hard to play a fast-paced thinking game if you can't see quickly and you can't think. But there might be another issue there in addition to the testosterone that I'm not sure about yet. So I have appointments scheduled. I'll make videos maybe, or just stream and talk about my health. But either way, I want to keep people updated on what's going on with me. And it's a little confusing, so we're going to see what happens. Hopefully sooner than later I can look back on kind of this part of the video, and where I'm like, oh, I don't know when I'm gonna get better, and this is all kind of scary, and I can kind of laugh about it at some point, and use the information I've learned to help other people and make their lives better, and maybe prevent this from happening to other people. So that's that's a big goal of mine as well. I do genuinely want to make people's lives better and help them succeed, because that's that makes me feel good, and it brings society up, and brings more respect out in our fellow human. I think it's just a wonderful thing, and I really do believe in it. And I hope you'll see that more as the videos come out. Hopefully, I think the first two here have given a pretty good idea of what I want to do. I think that's a pretty good overview for me right now. I hope you all like this. If you have any more ideas for content, please let me know in the comments or on Twitter at EG_PPMD. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope your day is filled with cray.